Stupid.
July 23rd, 2008. On that day, 10 years ago, I made my first YouTube account. The website was very different back then. The player looked like this, channels like this, and the most popular YouTuber was a sped-up 15-year-old screaming into the camera. A lot has changed in the past 10 years. In 2009, HD video arrived on the site, 2010 saw the end of the star rating system and the beginning of the thumbs, and in 2014, videos could be uploaded in 60 frames a second for the first time. These are just some of the many changes YouTube has gone through in the last 10 years. But I'm not here to talk about the website. Any Google search can find a timeline of YouTube's history. I'm here to talk about my history, my experience, my 10 years on YouTube. Now, some of you might be a bit confused by this revelation. You may have gone to my channel and seen that my earliest video is from September of 2016, and then you may have noticed that the MayRey channel itself was made in March of 2014. Everything will be explained. But first, we have to go back a little over 10 years ago. When I was younger, years before I realized I was trans, I used to love spending time on the internet. I didn't get many opportunities to, but whenever I did, I liked to watch funny videos on places like Newgrounds and Google Video. Damn, who remembers Google Video, eh? Eventually, Google Video started linking to this strange website called YouTube. Me being me, I didn't like YouTube as it was different and would actually click off of it whenever it popped up. I was a very stupid child. Eventually I realized that 90% of Google video links took me to YouTube, so I might as well accept it. I ended up making my first YouTube account, as I'm sure you're aware, 10 years ago today, on July 23rd, 2008. It was called Brett's World 99. Ugh. Cringe at my dead name.
Curse it into the fires of hell.
The name, of course, was in reference to Ed's World, an animated web series that I was super inspired by at the time. In fact, the original goal of the channel was to essentially make my own rip-off series. The plan was to make cartoons very similar to Ed's World, starring me and 3 of my at the time best friends. The only problem was that I couldn't animate. It never even got started, and I've since lost contact with 2 of the friends, so it's safe to say it was a total failure. In the early days of YouTube, I remember watching people like Magoita, today known as Brock Baker, who was and still is an impressionist and voice actor. I also watched a man named Mike Mozart, who looked like Al from Toy Story 2. He reviewed weird toys. Apart from those guys, a lot of my earlier subscriptions I had were most likely Lego animators and YouTube poopers that I've since forgotten. I myself didn't actually upload a video to YouTube for about 2 months, because once again, I was a stupid child who didn't understand you can't just upload unrendered project files. But once this incredibly basic knowledge was bestowed upon me, I began creating content, and that content was crappy Windows Movie Maker music videos that were just pictures with bad effects on them. Yeah. Sadly, a lot of my first videos have since been lost to time, so I can't actually show you my first ever on-camera appearance on YouTube. The earliest footage of me I have is a video from late 2009 called My First Link Costume, which was, as you can guess, me showing off my cosplay of Link from The Legend of Zelda. I did a lot of videos in costume, come to think of it. It was sort of my thing. I absolutely loved dressing up as different characters. Well, hell, to be honest, I still do. One of my favourite videos from the time was a horror movie crossover thing I did where I played various horror movie monsters who all just sort of met in a bedroom and had a conversation.
Okay. How did you hear our conversation? Because I'm in the same room, you idiot! Oh.
Even though it's aged about as well as milk in the sun, I'm still kind of proud of this video. It was the first time I ever actually wrote a proper script for something and had to use clever editing to achieve an effect, namely conversations between characters that were all played by me.
Shut up! Your voice is so damn annoying! Well, look who's talking. No, seriously, I didn't even know you could talk. Of course I could talk. I just chose not to. Why? Because your mother doesn't love you!
Also, you know how I have an intro, right? You know, the stupid, you know, that thing. You know how that's good? You know, it's short, concise, not really long and irritating, and has an identity of its own and recognizable branding. Well, a long time ago, I actually also used to have an intro to my videos. And I'm sorry. No, truly. I am so sorry you have to see this. Roll the intro. It burns. Well, moving on from that. Sadly, as I said, there's not a lot left from that early era of my first YouTube channel. I made sketches, parodies, impression videos. There was even a time where I sang parodies of national anthems.
We are the French retreat is what we do not need the red and blue.
Make it stop! And then around 2011 came the next era of my channel. The time where I thought that I could be the next big talks about serious issues to the camera YouTuber. Basically, I was inspired by people like The Amazing Atheist. Yeah, I know, it was a different time. And I decided, hey, I can do that. People are interested in my completely uninformed opinions on things.
Okay, so there's this politician over in the United States called Newt Gingrich.
Hey, nice My Little Pony Soviet propaganda, you fucking nerd. Despite making a lot of videos around this time, these were probably some of my least productive years on YouTube. I had all but lost the spark for making sketches or any kind of scripted content, really. With the exception of a couple videos here and there, the channel's main focus had basically just become me rambling aimlessly at a camera. Even if it did come with instructions, I'm a man, we don't look at instructions. Ha! Things changed though as I started attending college in 2013. I studied creative media and eventually started uploading my college film projects to YouTube, like this ad for Pepsi where the tagline was "Too good for rules," or a bizarre Back to the Future parody which made it painfully obvious that I had never skateboarded in my life. Or a short presentation on the subject of franchises and licensing where I got to rekindle my love of dressing up as I played multiple characters including Marty McFly, a mad scientist, and the 11th Doctor.
Oh, hello. Something is different. I'll figure it out later.
It was around this time that I started opening up to myself about my gender dysphoria and the possibility of being trans. Spoiler alert, I was. You know, it's funny. I remember the early days of being out as trans. I was so full of hope and enthusiasm. I was so naive. I genuinely believed that I would transition entirely over the summer break, be out to everyone, have hormones, and dress femme when I returned for my second year at college. Just to put things into perspective, that was late 2013. It is 2018 and I have still not been prescribed estrogen. Welcome to the NHS. Now wait 100 years. Obviously, after coming out as trans, I had to get a new name for the channel, and after about a week of thinking, I came up with Transgender Viking. I was into Norse mythology at the time, and it just seemed to fit. Look, I don't judge you for the mistakes you made. Sadly, it wasn't long after this rebranding that the channel started to die. Especially after leaving college and now dealing with the sudden realization that gender transition wasn't going to be a walk in the park, content slowed to a crawl, and I could barely muster up the desire to make anything. Thankfully, that wasn't the end. Back in March of 2014, I created a new channel, inspired by the likes of Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, and also by my sudden and bizarre desire to be part of the gamer culture. this new channel's focus would be on Let's Plays, and it was called Trans Gamer. Hello everyone, and welcome to my first ever video on this channel. I am the Trans Gamer. While it started off as a side channel to Transgender Viking, I eventually realised that I was far more interested in putting new content on there than on the old channel. After a while, I feel it got pretty legit. I had a face cam, a familiar intro. Good morning everybody, I identify as Trans Gamer and welcome back to Mario Kart 8. I even had a regular yearly event called Theme-sember, where throughout the month of December, I'd play games that all stuck within a certain theme or genre. As Trans Gamer got more popular, I eventually lost all interest in making things for Transgender Viking. It got to a point where I just filmed myself redecorating my room and nobody cared about that. However, I started experimenting with what I could put on that channel. And on January the 3rd, 2015, I made my first YouTube poop.
Sometimes my mum and dad used to go out. This meant that my brother had to die. He was 4 years older than me. Well, actually, he was 5 years older than me.
It was a huge success, one of the most popular videos on that channel. So I made more, and more, and more. Eventually, I realised that this was the direction I should go with for this channel, so I made the decision to set all non-YouTube poop videos to private and rebrand the channel yet again as That Trans Pooper, where it still sits today as a side channel on the off chance that I make a YouTube poop again. Meanwhile, on Trans Gamer, things were going great. I got a capture card which allowed me to record footage from console games, I did crossover videos with other YouTubers, and my audience was steadily growing. But I wasn't happy, and I really didn't understand why. At first I thought, hey, maybe I just wanted to branch out and make some other kinds of content, so I made a third channel. It was called The Trans Heel, and it was a wrestling-focused channel. It also didn't last long. I very quickly grew to hate the videos I made on it. They were just far too clickbaity for my liking. They weren't personal at all. They felt generic and they were so poorly researched. To be honest, I felt like I was just doing a rip-off of What Culture. So, yeah, I just canned the whole thing. So then I thought maybe I needed to rebrand. I mean, after all, it worked for That Trans Pooper, so why not for Trans Gamer? And this was probably the lowest point on YouTube for me. Believing that a simple name change was all that I needed, I announced on the 9th of June 2016 that I would henceforth be known as Reload Girl. It's safe to say that the tactic didn't work, and I was still dreadfully miserable doing what I was doing. The final nail in the coffin was when I made 2 episodes of No Man's Sky. The game was so bad, it depressed me so much, that I essentially just snapped. I made a few videos talking about how I wasn't happy doing what I was doing and how I felt trapped making Let's Plays, and that for a long time I had really wanted to do more scripted content again. I drew myself a new icon, decided I would move on from Let's Plays, and set about trying to find a new identity. I spent a long time trying to come up with yet another new name. Initially I wanted something like Brutal Moose or Space Hamster, as they're 2 YouTubers I really liked, and they did the kind of videos that I was looking to start making. Eventually though, after much frustration, I just kind of started making random noises and typing near gibberish onto a Word document. Rayjax, Jrex, Jra, Mayrex, MayRey. MayRey? Huh. I like it. Sounds good. So in October of 2016, I put my foot down and made my first scripted game review. So you more or less have no way to defend yourself, except to run. Run and hide in the darkness, deep locked away in a corner of the house, hoping, praying that the monsters don't find you, that they don't find you and eat your pants! I can't begin explaining how amazing it felt to be out of that rut of making Let's Play after Let's Play. To just use my brain and write a script for something was so liberating. And I didn't stop. I moved on to my next review, where I used my camera for the first time in years. It may have looked like Vaseline-covered arse, but it was something. I experimented with different angles and writing styles, and I loved every minute of it. Eventually I got a new camera and, well, I guess that pretty much brings us up to now. So we've arrived here. It's July 23rd, 2018. My name is MayRey. I make game reviews. I still occasionally experiment with new types of content. I'm lucky enough to have such a fan base that I could make a 20+ minute long Q&A video, and I can finally say that after all this time, I think I'm truly happy with where I am and what I'm doing. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, don't feel discouraged if you're not where you want to be yet. And hell, it took me like 8 years to find out what I really wanted to do on YouTube. The past 10 years of my life have been a mountain range of emotions, with ups, downs, and everything in between. And I wouldn't be who I am today without this incredible journey. From a stupid kid making silly videos in their parents' bedroom, to a political commentator, a filmmaker, a let's player, a YouTube pooper, to a game reviewer, this has been a wild 10 years of personal evolution. We all change. When you think about it, we are all different people, all throughout our lives. And that's okay, that's good, you've got to keep moving, so long as you remember all the people that you used to be. I will not forget one line of this. Not one day. I swear. I will always remember when this cringy motherfucker was me.